Hello everyone, it's Turin here, and today guys I'm here with another entry in our Community Cast series. In this game we're going to have a matchup between the Warriors of Chaos piloted by Dov Plays, and you guys see he's actually got Big Bird over there, so going to be one of the first times he's been on my channel. And he's facing off against him, we're just going to call him Destroyer for now, but he's facing off against the Destroyer who is playing the Empire. So definitely some cool builds, interesting to see Chaos Chariots used against the Empire, so hopefully that'll be fun for you guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at the army composition here. In the front line, of course, he has the mighty Big Bird. And guys, I'm actually in the process of unlocking Big Bird right now. I'm pretty close to finishing the Chaos Grand campaign, so you guys will be seeing him on my channel shortly. But man, he's pretty cool looking. Look at that staff. But he's a pretty good choice. I mean, against the Empire, it's I don't know, like arguably his weaknesses are that he's a big target, right? But he does have this massive missile resist. So he's pretty tough to kill. He has pretty good weapon strength with 440, and what's his AP actually? 140 with magic attacks as well. So I guess he would have a bit of a niche against ethereal attacks as well. But more importantly, guys, he causes terror. He's extremely fast. He actually has 60 speed, and he has this like very strange pathing where he's like incredibly hard to stop. Like he can run through formations like it's nobody's business. So he can be really, really devastating. Personally, I need to play him a little bit more before I can give you guys my opinion, but I'm really excited to see Dov Plays use him here. So aside from that, he has a very heavy Marauder-centric army, and I love Chaos Marauders against Empire. My actual build that I use against Empire has like two Chaos Warriors, and then I use a lot of Marauders mixed in with Forsaken. They have decent combat stats for how cheap they are with 34 melee attack, so against Spearmen, against Halberds, against units like that, they're incredibly cost effective. And they're also very quick for infantry, so they can push around the flank. So I really like this army from Dov Plays. It's really cool. Aspiring Champions over here in the back. He's got some Chaos Warhounds, always a nice introduction or inclusion in the army, not introduction. Two groups of Forsaken over here. Looks like he does have two groups over here on the flank as well. So I really like that play because then he can like scurry up and around and pressure the Empire flanks, which is always a pretty juicy spot because they're troops that they usually keep in the flanks to protect are spears, which Forsaken do very, very well against. On top of that, he does have two Chaos Chariots. So these are the anti-infantry variant. They don't have like the heavy armor piercing, but again, against Empire, you don't need heavy armor piercing. So also Big Bird, I should mention, he has the Plague of Rust. He has, let's go ahead and take a look just so I make sure to get this right. Transmutational Lead, which is a mitigation of combat stats. On top of that, he has Plague of Rust and Searing Doom. So very, very cool stuff. I'm excited to see this in action. And let's go ahead and take a look at his opponent's army over here. So, and not to mention, he does have two Marauder Horsemen over here. So the Empire player has the Tatter Souls kind of mixed in with some Great Swords just for AP, because Chaos typically will bring some Chaos Warriors, so having Great Swords isn't a bad choice. Granted, I think three or four is probably a little bit much, but you probably get away with two. He does have the Sigmar Sons here, some Flagellants on the far side who will hopefully be able to intercept those Forsaken for his sake. Some Demogryph Knights here. He has Handgunners in the back line, always a pretty good choice. I mean, powder units are just really, really strong, and even if he brings like a Shaggoth or against the Chariots, I mean, if they can get a good firing line, they'll do quite well also. Silver Bullets are great additions with some spears in the back to protect. He does have the Royal Altdorf Griffites, which are just a solid unit. I mean, terror routing you on a really powerful unit like this and just great combat stats is just a good pick in my opinion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this battle rolling. So, looks like Dov Plays is indeed coming around with these Marauder Horsemen, but unfortunately the Empire player does have a Light Wizard, and he gets a pretty good net here, and these Royal Altdorf Griffites are just going to come in here and give him the business, and you know these Haggard Barbarians want none of this, and they just get decked here. So these Royal Altdorf Griffites are just going to come in and just put these guys in a trash can. You can see they're already down to like 27 models, just getting absolutely annihilated. So that one group is down, however, he did have to use a Nets of Amnentalk and use Winds of Magic, but still, I would say the Nets is probably worth the 600 resources that he did pay for these. But you see these other group of throwing axes in here actually getting a little decent volley, doing about 8 to 10% of the HP damage on those Royal Altdorf Griffites. So very, very good stuff there. I'm eager to see how this group performs. They're probably not terribly encouraged after seeing their friends just get massacred. Like, I don't think a single one survived. It's like, Bane, no survivors. But yeah, they just got wrecked there. So these Royal Altdorf Griffites are kind of just like skirting around the perimeter, just doing a little bit of guard duty, but you can see that these Marauder Horsemen are indeed pulling back, having had enough of that funny business. So you can see the Empire player is also moving his Silver Bullets up here. He's probably going to position right here just to kind of zone these guys out because he doesn't want to chase with the Royal Altdorf Griffites, but he doesn't also want to let the Flagellants and Tattersouls take free damage. So you can see that Big Bird is coming in pretty hot. Look at him running over there in the distance. The rest of the Chaos Hordes are moving a little bit slower, but the Chariots are actually going to be good here. Like, if they can avoid the Demogryph Knights and just get right into the middle against these Great Swords, they'll do decent. Like, I'm really excited to see how he uses those. But Big Bird's coming in pretty hot, just checking things out, maybe thinking about doing a little bit of a Searing Doom action, which is pretty good against missile units. Like, Searing Doom is cheap, has a low cooldown, so if you're using it on, like, stacked handgunners or something like that, it can be pretty impactful. So we'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit. The armies are just kind of marching and posturing, and there's no siege equipment, so there's not a lot of tactics to talk about right now. So you can see that these guys are just hiding in the trees, definitely a little bit traumatized from their past experiences, and the rest of the Chaos Army is advancing. So Sartorial and the Marauder hordes are just lining up on the hill. This is always a little bit tough right here. What I've had happen to me on this map is like, as I'm marching up here, people will engage and just kind of force you into the hot gates when you have a very wide army like this. So you can see the Marauders are going up and around, and they're going to be really good for pressuring, and you can see the Searing Doom making some nice contact. And how many models did that kill? So 68. It didn't kill any models, but it did a lot of HP damage. So like one more volley from that will probably start taking down like a good portion of that unit. And I don't think he overcasted that. Granted, I'm so unfamiliar with Lore of Metal, I don't really even know what the overcast mechanics do on a lot of those spells, so I really need to learn that for you guys. So you can see the Marauders are getting ready to advance, but they are starting to take some handgunner fire, but they are still obstructed here, and you can see another Searing Doom coming in here, so these guys are definitely not in for a good time. They're going to probably take some good HP damage here on these guys, so they do get popped a little bit. It's kind of like that Lore of Fire spell. It did like almost the exact same, though. It's really funny. That was just like straight up the same. So the Marauder hordes are advancing. Over here you can see the Forsaken are probably posturing to run up and around the flanks and start pressuring, because Forsaken, if I'm not mistaken, will do pretty well against not against the Tattersouls per se, but against like Flagellants and things like that. So in the front line, you can see that the Marauders are going to get in there and just get down and dirty, but the Greatswords are definitely going to, outclass these guys. You can see like that initial decapitation, very, very rough. But the Chaos Hordes are pushing in, just very, very wild. I hope someday they add like new Norskin units. That would just be so cool. The Sigmar Suns are pushing over here in the flanks. These Marauders are intercepting Flagellants, but guys, you can see the Chariots and Forsaken coming over here in the distance, and these guys are just going to absolutely wreck shop. So you can see the Chariots, very, very good micro there. Before charging into the flank, he does pull them up and around, and he's most likely going to pull in, but the Empire player responds very well. He's screening them with the Demogryph Knights, and he's going to get a hard engagement. So actually, in retrospect, he probably should have just pushed in, but the Dummies are going to do very well against those guys. But guys, I know the whole reason for this cast is to watch Big Bird in action, so look at him with his big pimp staff just casting spells. Such a cool looking lord. And something I noticed is that he's just perpetually using the Searing Bolts, or Searing Doom, I think that's called. Let's go ahead and get that right so we don't mangle that. Searing Doom. So he's just using that nonstop. And Big Bird has a pretty good like splash attack as well. You'll see when he gets in here with his pimp staff, he does some good work and knocks back those great swords. Having only racked up 6 kills so far, but still, look how clumped these guys are. So right now, that's some pretty good value for how cheap of a, Winds of Magic type spell it is. So as soon as Big Bird starts getting targeted, he takes a bit of damage from that General of the Empire over here. So he's just going to simply run through the ranks. And guys, this is what I wanted to show you, how absurdly fast he moves through. It's just like watching someone sprint through a pool. Like he does not care that there's water there. He just like books it. And he has 60 speed, so he's pretty much as fast as this guy too. So it's pretty awesome stuff. I'm really looking forward to trying out Big Bird. But here in the main battle line, you can see that the Marauders, oh my goodness, what was that? Oh, that was Big Bird, just like a huge like pile of like flesh and gore. The Chariots were, thankfully for the Chaos player, Dov, were able to escape. And the Demogryph Knights did get mucked up a little bit over here. So they've kind of been trapped up by a lot of these Marauders and Forsaken. And these guys were able to escape. It looks like he did use the Chaos Warhounds to actually protect them. So very, very good play there. Big Bird has taken a little bit of damage though, and he's having to run away. But just look at him just path through the ranks. That must be so troll to deal with, because like Cav can't really keep up with him, because he can simply run back and through his infantry formation, and look at that staff he has. He just like slapped that one troop over into the distance. But over here, the Empire player does have a pretty good firing line, just very, very sweet position. He's getting some really, really good fire into that like Chaos Horde, because the Chaos Horde up here is like stuck on a hill, so these guys are just firing in like unimpeded. A little bit obstructed here, so if he had like moved it a little bit to the left or the right, he would have been doing more damage, but you can see this is just a complete massacre of the Warriors of Chaos. They're literally just taking gunfire, just getting domed, and they're surrounded by great swords, and just a really, really bad situation for these guys here. So let's go ahead and zoom up here and just take a look. Yeah, you can see the great swords are in good shape, and these Chaos forces are surrounded and are getting quickly whittled down. So, but over here, the Chaos player is faring a lot better. He has his Chariots back online. You can see they're kind of getting in and out, having racked up only 0 kills, 6 kills, and 2 kills there. So a very rough run for them, but still, hopefully they've been serving as like a bit of a magnet. But Big Bird in here is going pretty ham. He's kind of digging in there, just running around, but a good net of Amnitok. And I wonder if it'll actually net him down, but that's a cool animation. I'm so excited to see like what they do with like Zeech and Nurgle and Slaanesh and like all those kind of cool like sub-factions of Chaos in the, well, most likely the 3rd game, I would guess. But the Chariots have come back in. They're getting a little bit of a charge here. Unfortunately, they do get obstructed and netted, and it looks like it gives the Demogryph Knights a good opportunity to come back in. But the Chaos Warhounds do push in and kind of lock those Demogryph Knights down and poison them. And Big Bird's getting really low, though, but thankfully for him, he is unbreakable. And you can see he's actually getting some decent kills on some of these Demogryph Knights here. So he's paying his dues, and hey, you don't have to worry about him breaking, which is quite nice. And he does cause terror routing, so against a lot of like low-tier Empire infantry, but this Empire player's build, the Flagellants and Sigmar Suns are definitely not going to really care about that. So But yeah, the Empire player is reforming ranks over here, and you can see the Chaos Chariots. The Chaos Chariots are pushing in here pretty hot. They're going to get a great charge against these great swords, and I feel like finally, after just getting like netted and beaten down all game, they're finally going to generate value because this whole formation is basically just asking for chariots. There's no spears. They're just all sword infantry and guns, and it's just going to be a massacre. So right now you can see them pushing in. Only 3 and 9 kills. It looks like quite a bit more there, but the great swords still do have heavy armor, so the lack of AP on these guys is going to be a little bit damaging, but still, they get in, they disrupt that whole formation. They're just mucking up these handgunners, doing a great job against them. And Big Bird and the Chaos Infantry down here are actually winning this battle for the most part. The General of the Empire is actually shaken. The balance of power is very, very even, just incredibly close. You can see over here, the Demogryph Knights are doing a pretty good job kind of fighting off some of these troops on the flank. But they're kind of getting jumped by Big Bird now, and he's got his big pimp staff. Definitely a little Snoop Doggish, but he's getting in there, going to be using some of his lures of, I'm not sure what spell he's casting right now. Let's go ahead and see. So it looks like he is casting something over here, so he's casting the Transmutational Lead, so that's pretty awesome. So right as these chariots are coming in, he timed that Transmutational Lead to really make those guys be able to like push in and be aggressive and, you know, do some pretty good work. So let's go ahead and take a look at the overarching balance of power. So the Chaos player, I believe, is at 358 troops to the 389 of the Empire player. Balance of power is starting to favor Chaos, though, because a lot of these guys are tattered, and the Chaos contingent that initially routed off earlier is coming back down from the hill and has re-engaged with these great swords and is doing a really, really good job. So 42 kills on this chariot here. It looks like this one has 36 and 47. So they were at like 6 or 7 a moment ago. So they've been racking up a ton of kills. And since the Demogryph Knights and the handgunners are kind of offline now, he doesn't really have a lot of good options. And you can see these guys over here in the forest are just straight up getting rowed down and just massacred. So this is a great late game push because one of the strengths of the Empire is their late game missile play. Like handgunners in a really long, atrocious game, if you can, secure your back line, are going to be so strong. And it doesn't look like the General of the Empire was able to capture Big Bird over here. He's just kind of sitting here cackling, doing his thing. And yeah, just a great battle. Just really back and forth, a really good exhibition of Big Bird. And looks like the Empire player is about to fall. So yeah, he has the General of the Empire kind of running away from that angry horde of Forsaken and Marauders who are very, very fast in their own right. The Light Wizard has been kind of broken off the battlefield, and you can see that there's pretty much just Sigmar Sons and Unbreakable troops left at this point. So we'll go ahead and fast forward, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Very, very well played to both players. It was an awesome game. Very cinematic, cool use of chariots against like a faction that they would normally not be great against. And also Big Bird seemed to be pretty impactful. Like his ability to like push through formations and really do work in that respect was awesome. So, and of course I really like the army composition from the Chaos player. The Chaos Marauders with Forsaken I think are solid. You don't really even need to bring Chaos Warriors because like a Chaos Marauder can stand and trade with like most Empire infantry, even greatswords, for quite some time because they're pretty dense. On top of that, Forsaken are good, great pick. Chariots would be one thing I would never think to bring, but I mean at the end of the day they actually did pretty well. Yeah, the Empire player, I liked his army as well. The nets were, decent, but I think having like Lore of Life would have been better. The Demogryph Knights did well. Initially, they got a ton of kills on those chariots and also were able to pick off those throwing axes right away. So it was good stuff by both players. Just really fun match. So guys, thank you for watching this game. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing Big Bird in action. And guys, more content coming soon.